Very good afternoon, good evening, good day to all of you. My name is Padmanabhan Nair. I'm called Paddy. I'm the creative director of Point Blank Communications, and it gives me immense pleasure to address this august gathering. Frankly, I do not know why I was considered because considering the amount of experience and levels of interest you have, uh, I'm just a creative person. I'm not a qualified architect or a landscape architect, but yes, I do have an eye for nature. I do enjoy serene surroundings, the great ambiences that surround me and affect me with positivity. So when I was approached to make this note or speech, as you call it, to you people, I was in two minds. Like, what do I have to do with landscaping? But then I thought, why not? Any challenge is a challenge, and I hope I've put together some credible information for you to digest. And I hope you go back some positives of what I planned. So, without further ado, I'll get into my topic. I plan to talk about landscaping the mind. Now, how does the mind get into the landscape? Like while going through primary research and secondary research, mostly online and talking to people who are in the field, I came to know that landscaping as a word itself has immense potential. Like from the portrait mode, this to the landscape mode, it widens the entire spectrum. But I would be more concentrating on how landscaping affects well-being and good health. Why so? Because I deal in healthcare communications for the past decade or so. Had my stint in online communications and brand-based communications, and I finally found my anchor in healthcare communications. So I guess that qualifies me to talk a bit about landscaping and how it affects the mind. Uh, so to begin with, anything we see or experience is bound to have some impact on us. It stays. A residual factor stays in the mind, and that triggers more thoughts, more actions. And whenever those set of conditions or stimulations appear, the mind reacts in a particular manner. So it's not something which I am talking about. I can give you a personal example. Right now, if you focus on this part, uh, while I agreed to this talk, this was not there. And halfway through the process, we had some rounds of discussions and all. That's when, I went for some personal landscape. So if you see this, there's a hair patch. Uh, Although I look like Brad Pitt now, that's not the case. And I always considered this as personal mindscaping or landscaping as I would call it. So did it actually affect the mind? Yes, I've seen very successful people, my classmates, colleagues, and all have fabulous hair, and I never had it. I had curly hair basically, and it fell off around 30s, 35s, and started vanishing pretty fast. And first, it became a pond, a small pond somewhere here. Then it slowly expanded. It became a lake. It became a river. Finally, it became the whole bloody runway itself. Not that it affected my mind as much, because being in the creative field, it really does not matter as long as you turn up for work and you turn in good work. Anything else is forgotten. But when you look at it from a personal angle, sometimes when you put photographs on Facebook or Instagram and all, and people who have no relation to you or even close relatives, just to take a degree, you say, yeah, who's that with you? Is that your daughter? Is that your sister? And all that. So, the digs keep coming, and it's up to you whether you want to get affected or not. I gave two hoots about it. But just the other day, it was my wife's birthday, and we had gone. So there's this, barber, as you call it, or the hair stylist. There, they have also kind of modified and made themselves better. So this guy was telling me he's pretty well known. He's got this Bollywood connections and all that. There are photographs of him cutting the hair of film stars. So I remember one instance around 5 to 10 years back or something. We had gone there, and he seemed to be a pretty hot shot and good at what he does. So I told him, dude, why don't you do something? So he made me sit down. He just went all through my hair and all that, and he just gives me a look. And sorry, boss, nothing can be done. You'll have to have hair extensions. So that's when this word struck me for the first time. And maybe around 5 to 10 years down the line, this is what happened. I'd gone to at my wife said, and he said, "There's this crazy new tried out. It'll be a life-changing experience to you, and you'll mind so much." And why not? Let's give it a shot. So did it help me? It's too early to say, but so far I'm loving it. The new landscape approach I have done to head. And I'm not simply talking about this. The studies actually, prove this correlation. So older adults apparently have a distinct therapeutic relationships with land. Nature can promote the physical, mental, and social health of older adults, and particularly blue spaces. Blue space in particular embodies the important therapeutic qualities for older adults. So the picture of the sea, marine blue, picture of fishes swimming inside a fish tank. All these are supposed to calm the mind tremendously. And this association of colors with green and blue, they all also lead to safety, accessibility, and perception, and they affect the therapeutic impact of the landscape there and of the person. These are actually scientific studies. And there's this saying always that if you're feeling blue, go green. So while it's a clever wordplay and being a wordsmith myself, I approve of the concept. What gives it a bigger depth is that exposure to nature has actually been known to strengthen the cognitive ability and self-esteem of people. It improves the blood pressure. It calms your innate responses to stimuli. The fight or flight responses you have. It lessens symptoms of attention deficit disorder, and it enhances community resilience. Blue and green. Remember, if you're at any time feeling stressed, music helps. But the best I would say is looking out into the ocean, way far away from the ocean. You can always see it in your mobile phone. You can look at fishes. Fishes calm me out. Because I can keep staring at fishes for 10-15 minutes, and the gentle gliding motions all over. They sometimes give you a look. They please you in that look, and finally they go. So it's a pretty good exposure to have. So when we come to this process of how the landscaping affects the mind, where does this inception of the importance of landscape actually happen? Like, when is that seed planted? I would say it's early childhood. We have distinct visual memories or visual cues that get stored inside the brain and get activated every time such a situation arises again. But I would very clearly say that the biggest perceptions that impact the mind in terms of landscape, beautiful scenes surroundings, are the ads. So if you look at quick look at advertising, some of the most beautiful or the most relevant and memorable ads that we have seen. If you look at the Vodafone, it has the pug, that small dog following the boy all over Goa. The surroundings is so beautifully captured. They've got a wooden bench that leads to nowhere, a wooden bridge kind of thing that leads to nowhere. They've got the yellow swing in a big green field. All these subtle uses of color that capture your attention. While the dog and the pug and the song "You and I in this beautiful world, green grass, blue skies, you and I in this beautiful world," while that lingering melody stays in your head, the visual imagery that is implanted is the kid walking, the dog following. They kind of form a visual aura in your mind that always. And of course, wherever you go, a network follows, and wherever you go, colors follow. Just look around for this. This is one of my own hypotheses. I think you associate colors with certain situations, but more on that later. To move on with the fantastic ads that keep changing the mindscape, the Nike ads are known for their colors. Like Nike, although in India we do not have much of a season change, we have rains, we have heat, and we have winter. and that also varies from parts to parts of the country. But in Europe and Americas and all that, the weather patterns are very, very strictly defined. There is a winter, there is a fall, there is spring, there is summer, and all of these are with distinct color changes. And spring is all the flowers and blooms and all the autumn leaves, all the red leaves falling down. The winter, the snow, and these days the winter I'm told is like we all read on the papers. The winter is much more harsh. So that's clearly a sign of climate change and the polar ice caps melting. And I would say it's all a bit of not having done proper landscaping in the sense of not having planned enough and not having retained enough landscape. Agreed to become construction mughals and everybody having BHKs and 5 BHKs and much space and studio apartments. We have somewhat kind of forgotten about nature and we're facing the consequences. But coming back to the point, when you come to these Nike ads, Nike celebrates the very essence of these seasons and colors. So Nike had a very famous campaign called "Enjoy the Weather." So Nike, what they found out was the problem they found out was as soon as the rains or the snow started, the sales, the shoe sales plummeted, on plummeting just 2 3 months before the season. So then they had to do all these, weird sales and fantastic markets in order to keep the meter running. But they had to find that what is the essence of the problem. And they found out that once it started raining or snowing, people there who are actually quite adventurous prefer to stay indoors or so that's when they decided that enough is enough. They had to address this. And then they brought out this campaign, Enjoy the Weather. So in Enjoy the Weather, you have people running across the streets of New York, across Sydney, across London, all beautiful locations. And it's raining, it's snowing, all these things keep happening. And the ad says, Enjoy the Weather. But the ad got noticed not just because of the slick shots of shoes but more for the culture connect with it. I wish I could play them for you, but Enjoy the Weather, check them out. And it gave a huge impetus to Nike sales boost, and it made a lot of people get back into advertising and actually enjoying the run while it's raining or while it's snowing. And the rest was history. But enjoy the weather, guys. Look out for those distinct colors of the weather and how. Moving on, talk about inception of landscaping and inception in the mind. I think the first instances of inception in comics. So to me, it happened after seeing Marlin Spike when Tintin and Captain walk in lush, clean, well maintained, with the perfectly right, perfectly laid out the blocks to where they're exactly supposed to be. That is while as a child I never had the what do you call the wings to fly out to Belgium and see Marlin Spike Hall wherever it is located in the world. I hear the Chateau in France. Uh, Going back to Marlin Spike Hall, the closest I had was we had this Trivandrum Museum. I'm born and brought up in a city called Thiruvananthapuram. That's the capital city of Kerala, the God's own country, and it's a beautiful place with lots of temples and oceans and mountains, you name it. That's why Kerala tourism is like that. And there we had this Trivandrum museum of all old artifacts and historical items and all. The museum building reminds me of Marlin Spike Hall. All those impeccably maintained. That kind of satiated my urge to have or satiated my landscape, to call it. But those are not the only beautiful gardens we have. In Mumbai, we have the hanging gardens, although getting there is quite a pain in the traffic. But I'm sure whenever I've been enchanted by the way it has been maintained and kept right. One of the other beautiful places I've gone is the rock gardens in Chandigarh. A unique concept, but again, it shows that how a little innovation and little creative thinking can do wonders to a place, change the entire dynamics of the place. So rock garden again remains a favorite, but my all-time favorite in India, and of course it's a wonder of the world, the Taj Mahal. You go and just enter the gate and just see the white spectacle of excellence, lawns and landscaping. The Mughals and who were the artists. So that brings me to the first part of my talk, where I try to get into how the mind controls the landscape and how the mind actually matters. So now I'll get a little bit more into. I'm not going too deep into the science. I don't want to go you guys, and I'm not even a scientific person, nor I'm qualified to a doctor to tell you this is how it is supposed to happen. These are all, since I've been in this field and since I've worked with healthcare companies and a lot of healthcare pharma companies are my clients. The biggest problem we have always faced is getting the right imagery. And right imagery means right surroundings, right background, right color toning, all that huge role in healthcare. Right? Because the mind matters and we have landscape the mind. I'll move towards what I call mindscaping. So mindscaping, it's like a Pokemon top. It's the mind and landscaping. And when you bring it together, it becomes a Pokemon of words called mindscaping. A deal about it, but I think it can have a significant impact. Our mood changes with landscape, and even more so when it comes to good health. So a well-designed or a controlled landscape, an uncontrolled expanse of land, just acres and acres. You can see from horizon to horizon. You can see, either the or the verdant greens, or just grassland, or just rocky sea, versus a controlled landscape. Like imagine a high-profile software company or a high-profile IT company. See how beautifully manicured and maintained their. Both these trigger distinct responses. Like you walk into a high-profile building where everybody are well dressed in army. Your gait immediately slows down. You will never be in a hurry. You just cannot rush in such a place. You have to go with the flow. You have to breathe in the air. You have to get in that serious tone of I'm here for a purpose. I'm here to do something. Now imagine flip to the other side, where you are in a rocky, free, wide. From corner to corner, you can see land. You can do whatever. You're not controlled. Your gait increases. You can run. You can skip. You can hop and jump. You can climb over a rock. You can, avoid slipping or falling. You enjoy that. Different sorts of energy fills in your. So I would ask you guys to do a little quick experiment whenever you have time. While entering an office or while entering a manicured or a well-maintained, pristine area, see how immediately you become conscious. You look around. You loosen yourself up, correct your posture. All this happens involuntarily. But when you imagine going to a Juhu beach, or imagine going to any of these places I mentioned about a vast expanse of land, you feel suddenly free. There's nobody watching you, and you don't even care if somebody is watching you because you are in your own world. There are no restrictions, nothing bound on you. There are no flashlights in your head. It works a different magic in your head. And so therefore I always say that landscaping actually becomes the stimuli, it becomes the magnet, and it becomes the work in so many different ways. And how does it actually happen? I'll get a little bit into the science. The brain, and we have 5 senses. The sense of touch, we see things, we smell it, we actually, get hear it, and we can actually taste some things we can actually. So if you look at how all these